Kev Baker Show.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a very special live broadcast right here on the Kev Baker Show with me, one of our hosts tonight, Kev Baker, and of course, I'm joined by my good friend and my wingman co-host, Mr. Johnny Whistles. Now, we're coming to you live from Glasgow, Scotland on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, and tonight we are going to be going all the way round and down the planet to New Zealand. What a show we have got lined up tonight, because if, like myself, during your whole waking up process, I know it's happened to you at some stage, you've all fallen into that Planet X Niburu wormhole. And wow, what a rabbit hole, wormhole, portal that is. You can lose yourself for weeks just looking at the plethora of images and videos that come out every day. How on earth can we make sense of what is going on? Is there some kind of rogue planet making its way back into the solar system, as some people would have us believe? What do you think? What have you looked at? Well, tonight we're going to clear up some of the ambiguity, the misinfo, and the disinfo that exists out there. But before we start getting into all of that, Johnny Whistles, tonight's guest, one of your favourites over on YouTube, and I know you're looking forward to this one. You've been telling me about this guy literally since maybe a couple of weeks after I met you, John, all those years ago.
Yeah, exactly, Kev, because some of the things that this man has showed people what to do with the cameras and what to do when they see two suns, you know what I mean, in picture. It's absolutely fantastic to actually have him here tonight, because this has been long overdue, Kev.
And Johnny, this is one of the topics that off air, you'll sometimes share videos with me, I'll share stuff with you, and we have a real interest in this whole Planet X. Is there something out there? Is there something on its way back in? And that's why tonight it's going to be great, because I know so many people out there are asking these same questions, and with so much information coming to us on the internet via social media right now, what a perfect time to bring on somebody from YouTube who goes by the tag of Dazza the cameraman. His name is Dave Gregg. He comes to us all the way from New Zealand, and he, for me, and for some people out there, I like to call this the inconvenient truth about Niburu. Now, I call it inconvenient because there's so many people out there, for whatever reason, they're addicted to fear porn. They lose all discernment. Critical thinking goes out the window. However, you watch one of these videos that tries to convince you something is imminent, just head over to Dazza the cameraman, because 9 times out of 10, he'll provide you with an absolutely brilliant explanation of what you're actually seeing. So without any further ado, by the joys of Skype and the internet, let's go all the way to New Zealand. Dave, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Kev, and thank you for having me on the show.
No, the pleasure is definitely all ours tonight, and for anyone out there, not right this second, but after the show, go and search for Dazza the cameraman on YouTube. I think you've got something like 5,000 subscribers, Dave, and I think that should be times by 10, because this topic that we're going into tonight is so popular with people out there. And before we even get into Niburu, I mean, how did you get into all of this stuff yourself?
Well, this goes back to early 2011, when in New Zealand there was a major earthquake in Christchurch, which killed approximately 200 people. And at that time, there was a New Zealand personality by the name of Ken Ring, who had already made a name for himself forecasting weather events based on the phases of the moon. And he decided to turn his hand to predicting earthquakes based on the phases of the moon. And he predicted that there was going to be a major earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand on the 20th of March 2011, which was the supermoon event for that year. This caused widespread panic for the people in Christchurch who had already been through many earthquakes, including the fatal earthquake on February 22nd, 2011. And so I looked into his claims about the phases of the moon causing earthquakes. I thought on the surface of it, it sounded like a fairly reasonable sort of claim. We know that the moon causes tides every day. So what I did was I checked back on the history of major earthquakes in New Zealand going back to about 1850, and then I checked those dates against the phases of the moon and found that there was no correlation. I sent this information via email to GeoNet, which is New Zealand's equivalent to USGS, and they replied promptly and said, "Thank you, this is great. Would you post this on our Facebook page?" I wasn't on Facebook at that stage, and I wasn't using my YouTube channel. So I joined Facebook because I thought it was important for people to know. and posted it there. And as they say, the rest is history. That is where my debunking started.
And this is why I'm really happy to have you on tonight, because that event with the Christchurch earthquake, I can imagine a lot of fear was going around at that time. And there's a whole heap of activity, furore around the Niburu subject on the internet right now. And I'm seeing from some of the comments, Dave, that some people are actually getting scared that Nibiru, Planet X, has actually entered our solar system. And this is in no small part to YouTubers out there who, in my opinion, definitely know that what they're putting forward isn't true. People like yourself is providing alternative answers to the information and research they say they're presenting, yet they choose to ignore that and continue to push this fact that Nibiru is here. Now, you find yourself at the centre of one of these kind of viral storms right now. Talk to us about Nibiru Planet X 2016. Is it here?
Okay, so one of my followers on, I think it was my Dazzathecameraman Facebook page, posted the video and asked me to take a look at it. So I went over to Nibiru Planet X 2016 channel, checked out the video supposedly showing Nibiru, and now he had shown what he actually described as Planet Enoch. He did say that it wasn't Nibiru, but what he called Planet Enoch, which I'd never heard of before, as seen from the stereo behind images. And it turned out that it was in fact the moon that was visible in the stereo behind images. And I posted a response video, and I was quite surprised when he actually responded with an email to me and detailed comments defending himself, and he came across as very sincere. And so we had a hangout and we talked about the claims and so forth. And at the end of that hangout, we thought that we had actually achieved something for once. It made a refreshing change that somebody actually fronted up to discuss their claims. He went away and took down his Planet Enoch video. But then several hours later, he just sort of exploded on my Facebook private message thread with all sorts of accusations and expletives. And of course, he told me that he had been in contact with two professors of astronomy from the University of Pittsburgh, and that they had sent him a 13-page PDF document which, you know, set everything straight, and that they were going to come on a hangout and were going to expose me as being a liar and expose Astronomy Live as being a liar and all the rest of it. And of course, this was all nonsense. He never contacted these professors. I emailed them myself. They both replied and said that they'd had no contact with Scott from Nibiru Planet X 2016. And then he subsequently admitted in a hangout that he was running that he tried to call my bluff. So there we have it. Nibiru Planet X 2016 was full of lies from the start. And he has actually re-uploaded that video, so he wasn't sincere, which is disappointing.
And what I really like about how you go about this, Dave, is the fact that so often, and I've been there myself, we end up in these exchanges on social media, be it Facebook or YouTube, and it just descends rapidly into ad hominem attacks. But you, sir, you stick to the details. You take the points presented by somebody and you scientifically, rationally, and logically break it down. I've never seen you stooping to the levels of some out there on social media, and that's why I bring you on tonight, and I urge everyone out there to check Dave out, Dazzathecameraman on YouTube. Now, this Nibiru thing, though, it might be Nibiru Planet X 2016 just now, but it keeps coming round, Dave. There's always some hype somewhere, be it something appearing over the South Pole, something over Scotland for one day. What's going on here? Is there something making its way back in? Is there some kind of orchestrated disinformation campaign? What's your thoughts on this?
Right, well, this really goes back to 1983 when the IRIS infrared survey detected something that they thought at first might be a large planet way out in the far reaches of the solar system. It turned out that it was what they refer to as a ULIRG, ULIRG, if I remember correctly, which is an infrared signature of a background galaxy. So what they detected was actually a distant galaxy. But this whole thing, you know, the news media release about a possible 10th planet being detected really set off the imaginations of some people, and that's where it really started. And then to add to that, in 2003, you've got Nancy Leader from Zeta Talk announced that Planet X was going to arrive in 2003. She even went to the extent of advising her followers to euthanize their pets. She actually killed 2 of her dogs. So 2003, it's now 13 years later, and of course we're still waiting. And I've been debunking Nibiru Planet X for 5 years now, since I first heard about Nibiru Planet X. But in answer to the question, is there something coming in? No, I can definitely say that there is not, because we've got thousands of astronomers, not just professional astronomers, but amateur astronomers all around the world who are scanning the skies every night looking for new asteroids and comets. And if there was anything like a brown dwarf coming in, it would be easily detectable from a great distance. If it was within our solar system, as claimed by the people who like to post videos of objects supposedly next to the sun or in the sky somewhere, then it would be clearly visible, just as we can see all of the other planets. We can see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn with our naked eyes, without the need for a telescope or infrared. We can also see Uranus and Neptune with optical telescopes, without the need for infrared. I've imaged Pluto through a 14-inch telescope, just in optical visible light, without the need for infrared. So if we're talking about an object that was, they say, 4 times the size of Jupiter, it would be easily visible to the naked eye without the need for any infrared detection to see it.
And I've always told people that we can forget the professional astronomers because, say, maybe NASA, people like that, we know we can't trust them. But with all the brilliant amateur astronomers out there, I'm sure they would raise the alarm. But this whole Nibiru Planet X, it fascinates me. It really does. And I've been there, folks, because I call it Nibiru bias. You end up making everything fit Nibiru. Anything that happens on the planet, be it earthquakes, bird die-offs, rumbling in the sky, you name it, at some point, if you're down that Nibiru rabbit hole, you're going to attribute all of these things to an incoming planet. Have you noticed that as well, Dave?
Yes, I certainly have, and people like to point to what they say is an increase in earthquakes or an increase in volcanic activity, and of course they're going to blame Nibiru Planet X coming through the solar system as being the cause. But the thing that people have to remember is that there is no increase in earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Sure, there is you'll get changes in the statistical range. Sometimes you'll have low numbers of earthquakes, sometimes you'll have high numbers, and often those high numbers will actually follow a major event, like the major earthquake in Japan that caused the tsunami, or also here in New Zealand with the Christchurch earthquake. There were thousands of aftershocks, so that's going to push the numbers up. But the other point is that, we have got increased monitoring. We've got increased detection and monitoring and increased reporting of such events. So it's not that there's an increase in the actual events themselves, it's just that we're better able to detect them. I remember in when the major earthquake hit Japan, causing the tsunami, I watched that live on TV, and it was just amazing to think that here was an event that, some decades ago it would take us some time to find out. We wouldn't have even known that it happened, but there we are with the technology that we've got today. We can watch these events as they happen live.
Well, Dave, some of the things that have seen, even some of them baffled me until I'd actually watched a video of you debunking them, was these 2 suns. And I've seen a video that you put out of when you put your finger in front of the second sun, then it's actually in front of your finger to let you see that it's not a sun, it's actually something from the camera.
Yes, that's right. There's different types of lens flares. We often see videos of lens flares that will actually move around the image, but then there are some where the apparent object seems to remain static in relation to the sun. So when you move the camera around it remains in the same position. This is not your typical lens flare. It's an internal lens reflection. It's caused by the light bouncing backwards and forwards between the layers of glass in the lens. But you can actually get the same effect if you film the sun out through double glazing sometimes, because you've got 2 layers of glass. And so the finger test is a very simple way to actually check whether the object that you think that you're seeing is real or not. So what you do is you extend your your hand out in front of you, hold up your index finger, and you put your finger out in front of the camera over where the second sun object appears to be. And if that object appears on top of your finger, then obviously it is an internal lens reflection. The other thing that the second part of that test is to actually block out the sun with your finger, and as soon as you do that, you'll find that the second sun suddenly vanishes from view. Now, I should stress too that this test must be done outside. It's no point doing the finger test if you're inside filming out through windows or double glazing, because the reflection is actually caused through the glass. So you cannot have glass between the sun and what am I saying? Basically, you've got to be outside for it to work, so that you don't have the glass in between you and your finger.
And this is brilliant. This is why I called tonight's show Niburu, protection from Planet X deception, because some of the tips that Dave can give us here tonight, we're going to be looking at these images. They're always coming at us on Facebook. We're going to be able to go out, conduct a few simple experiments, and bring some common sense to this topic. Now, what are some of the other common anomalies that some people mistake or knowingly put out there as possible incoming planets and red dwarfs? What do you mostly have to deal with, Dave?
Well, another favourite one is the black dot over the sun. Sometimes you'll see these images where we see the great big sun in the sky and the small black apparent object in front of the sun, which they say is Nibiru, Planet X. What they're actually seeing, that the black dot is in fact the sun itself. Most of what we see in the sky when we think that we're looking at the sun is actually glare. It's the bright light scattered through the atmosphere. And the black dot is actually the bright disk of the sun, and when the camera sensor is looking at the sun, the sensor is overloaded, so the image sensor produces a zero value because it's overloaded, and that zero value is read as black. Now, one thing I often recommend to people is to go to their local hardware store or engineering supply store and buy a replacement welding lens that goes into a welding helmet. Usually you can buy these for maybe $2, $3 or $4. And if you buy a number 12 or darker, the darkest grade possible, you can use that as a solar filter to put over your eyes, and you can look directly at the sun. Of course, you should never look directly at the sun without any sort of solar filter, otherwise you can damage your eyes. But certainly you can use a very dark welding lens, and you'll see how tiny the disk of the sun is compared to all of the glare. So those black dot photos are in fact just the disk of the sun that we're seeing.
Wow, Johnny. See, now I hope the listeners are starting to see why we brought Dave on tonight. Now, sticking with the sun for just a moment, NASA, and one image sticks in my mind in particular. I'm not sure if you even covered this, Dave, but it was almost as if there was an invisible round object near the sun, and people claimed it was drawing energy from the surface of the sun. Did you ever take a look at that, or any of the other NASA anomalies that we see?
Yes, I did. I do remember that one. A huge UFO next to the sun drawing off energy.
It went absolutely mega viral.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the fact that the sun is nearly 1.4 million kilometres across in diameter, that object would have to be huge. But it was basically a big hole in the coronal atmosphere, if you like. I recommend checking out videos by Dr. K. Strong on YouTube. He is actually a real solar scientist, and he has uploaded a number of videos looking at these sorts of things. He explains them in much better detail than I ever could, because that's his expertise. You also mentioned to me suspicious observers earlier on. Now, he has actually done a series of videos debunking the claims by suspicious observers. Darren, if you check out his playlist, you'll find a series of videos debunking those claims as well. So they're well worth a look.
Wow. Johnny, I know you've probably got lots of questions here for Dave as well, man.
Yeah, it's just, Dave, some of the images that you actually use and see, you really have a fantastic array of cameras, and one of the last ones I saw that you were using was, now I'm not sure if it was a Nikon P900 or something.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, that is top of the range. That's as good as you can get, isn't it?
Yes, and I bought that camera about 3 weeks ago in response to the flat Earth believers, because they hold out the Nikon P900 camera as being the ultimate for proving flat Earth. So I thought in that case it must be the ultimate for disproving flat Earth. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. We've got the next cruise ship season is just about to get underway here, and I'm looking forward to filming some very large cruise ships. You've seen a lot of these flat Earth videos. They tend to film little pleasure craft which are only at best maybe 10, 20 feet high off the water, but I film cruise ships because they're usually 150 feet high at least off the water, and there can be no question that the waves are actually hiding the ship from view.
And that flat Earth, that whole topic, that just exploded onto the internet as well. And I can imagine you've been just as busy making videos with that as the whole Niburu stuff, Dave.
Yes, I was quite busy for a while. I had been busy with other things over the last few months, so I sort of had to put the brakes on my YouTube videos for a while. But now I'm back available, and I'm looking forward to making some more flat Earth videos. But I should say too that I don't think anyone is going to commit suicide necessarily over flat Earth videos, but there is a very real danger in this whole Nibiru Planet X nonsense, and people are killing themselves over the claims made about Nibiru Planet X. So it is people much more years.
They've sold property, they've moved out into the back of beyond, and all on the back of what they've been hearing on YouTube. And yet some critical thinking, logical thinking, discernment, and listening to somebody like Dave might well have protected them from that deception.
This is the Kev Baker Show.
Kev Baker. This is the Kev Baker Show, and we're coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio Network. What a show this has been so far. Loving it. Now, before we continue, a big announcement to make for Monday. I've been holding off telling you all about this because a few times in the past I have tempted fate. But on Monday, I can't believe I'm even going to be saying this, I'm bringing one of my namesakes onto the show. Now you're all thinking, namesake, who can that be? Well, Judith Very Baker is going to be joining myself and Johnny Whistles live on the Kev Baker Show on the 31st of October. This Monday, ladies and gentlemen, Lee Harvey Oswald's ex-girlfriend, only her, she's going to be coming along talking to myself and Johnny Whistles right here. Mark it on the diary. Please tune in for what is promising to be another brilliant, epic show. Just like tonight's with our new friend, Dave Gregg, a.k.a. Dazza the Cameraman, be it Niburu, Planet X, Planet 7X, whatever name you want to put on it. We've all looked into it some time or another. And during the first half of the show there, we were getting to know Dave, how he got into all of this, and some of the techniques we can even use ourselves to bring some sense to this very, very crazy topic. Now, we were covering some of the viral claims that get made on YouTube in particular, and one name that keeps popping up on there, Dave, is somebody called Steve Olson. Now, I know you've had a kind of locking heads with this gentleman. Talk to us about what's going on here.
Okay, well, Steve Olson has been uploading Nibiru Planet X videos for some time. I checked back on his channel the other day to see his earliest videos, and I noticed that his earliest video I can see was uploaded 10 months ago. Let me see, I think it was in December of 2015, and it's a video called Weird Planet in Southern Hemisphere. Don't look away, holy Lord, it says in the title in caps, of course, as you do. And that was uploaded on December 15, 2015. And so from the thumbnail of that video, I can see that it's from the all-sky cameras showing classic lens flares, which I intend to do a follow-up video about, by the way, because I downloaded a series of images over several days from those webcams using an auto-downloader. We can see that the lens flares that are supposedly Nibiru Planet X are in fact lens flares. In fact, they often end up inside the camera housing itself, so Nibiru must be very tiny if that's the case.
This is what happened above Scotland as well just recently, Dave, wasn't it? We had a lens flare appearing on a webcam and, whoa, it's Nibiru, it's here, and it's gone again.
Yes, that's right. It was Scott from Nibiru Planet X 2016. He First of all, he uploaded a video pushing the panic button, saying that Nibiru was now being seen from one end of the Earth to the other, and then he followed up with this video from the Fife Weather YouTube channel webcam in Scotland, and that was clearly a lens flare. The fact that it was crossing the sky in the opposite direction to the movement of the moon is your first clue. The only reason that the moon appears to cross the sky is mainly because of the rotation of the Earth at 15 degrees per hour. So if something is actually travelling in the opposite direction to the apparent motion of the moon or the sun or the stars, it would have to be in very close Earth orbit, like the International Space Station. So if Nibiru was in very close Earth orbit, we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
I think not, my good friend. But Steve Olson, what's he been up to now?
So I see his latest video is a spectacular collection of lens flares and sundogs. He's very kindly provided an awesome resource for my next videos, so I'm looking forward to following on those. Very definitely lens flares and sundogs and other things, which can be very easily demonstrated, as we've covered in the first half of this, with very simple techniques. And I have put Steve Olson on notice that I will be following up on him as my next pet project. You would have seen in one of my recent videos that I had a soundbite of him saying in one of his videos that the debunkers will never come on and debate him live, he says, because their handlers can't control them. Well, of course, I don't have a handler, but I'm more than happy to come on live and debunk his claims. But then I saw that when somebody shared my video under one of his videos or Facebook page or wherever it was, Steve Olson came back and made the comment that he would not expose his audience to that guy, being Dazza the cameraman. So we'll set up a hangout and send out an invite with plenty of notice, and we'll have a chair in the hangout waiting for him. So if he doesn't show up, well, that will be to his own discredit, I guess.
And you know, we're all fascinated with what's going on above us in the heavens. We often, sometimes, or sorry, not often, but sometimes we see anomalies with the moon as well, Dave. And I remember it wasn't that long ago there was talk of a lunar wave. The moon was acting very strange. Was that something you took a look at, possibly?
Yes, I did, very much so. You were referring to the videos by Crow 777.
Yeah, what was going on there? Because I mean, at the time, I had a lot of requests coming in. I need to speak to Crow 777. I took a quick look at what was going on. Something didn't resonate for me. I mean, I don't know what was going on, but what were you seeing, Dave?
What we're seeing in those videos is atmospheric layering. As we know, the stars twinkle because of atmospheric turbulence. If we were out in space where there was no atmosphere, we wouldn't see the stars twinkling. So it's actually that turbulence where the light from the star is coming through the atmosphere. It's been refracted, and this is why we see. If you look at a star when it's low down on the horizon, you see often it'll change color, red, blue, green, and so on. And it's the same sort of thing that we're seeing with the lunar wave, is that there was a layering effect in the atmosphere, and this is impossible to see unless you've actually got something such as the moon as a background to actually detect the refraction of the air mass. Now, I've used aircraft wakes, the bow shock or wingtip vortices that the aircraft create as they're passing over in front of or next to the moon, to demonstrate how this layering can occur. Now, although that replicates what we see in Crow's videos, even to the point of double waves. A lot of people were actually screaming out and saying, we're only seeing a single wave in your video, but Crow's videos have a double wave. Well, subsequently, I was sent videos that actually showed the elusive double wave that was caused by aircraft. But I don't believe that all of the lunar waves are actually caused by passing aircraft. I suspect that we're seeing the effects of passing warm and cold air fronts, so you've got a different refractive index between the two air masses.
See, this is brilliant stuff, and there's no attacking any of the people that we're bringing up here. It's scientific and logical explanation and counter arguments. That's what I really, really like about the way you do this. A lot of respect and a lot of time for what you do here, Dave. And being an amateur astronomer, I have to ask you, what kind of feelings do you have for the likes of NASA, the European Space Agency, the government kind of space agencies? Do you think they are up to the task? Are they doing the job that they should be doing? Or do you think we have to rely more on people like yourself and the amateurs out there?
Well, I think that NASA and ESA and so on are actually doing a fantastic job. And a lot of the videos that are put out there on YouTube supposedly showing Nibiru next to the sun or Nibiru in space somewhere, the images that they use in those fear-mongering videos are actually supplied by NASA or ESA. So they do a great job in providing free information publicly that anybody can access. Anyone can go onto the NASA Stereo or SOHO websites and download the images. They can check back on any date. So I think they do a great job. I don't believe that NASA are lying to us or hiding anything from us. Certainly I believe that there are things that go on with the government or governments, but as far as astronomy is concerned, I don't really see that there's any conspiracies or cover-ups or anything like that. And also a lot of the information that NASA release, such as details of asteroids and near-Earth objects and so on, they actually rely on the global community of astronomers, both professional and amateur, for data from their observations. So they rely as much on us as we rely on them.
Well, Dave, do you ever look at what the Vatican are actually looking at with the Lucifer telescope? What is it do you think that they are looking for with that thing?
Well, they're not looking at anything other than what any other astronomers are looking for. You know, they're doing astronomy just like everyone else. You know, I've heard these claims about the Vatican and the Lucifer telescope, and I mean, that whole story is just a beat up. A couple of years ago, I contacted
it's that Niburu bias that I'm calling it.
Yeah. So a couple of years back, I actually contacted the Vatican astronomers, and they did reply. And I've got the emails that are available. I did post them online. And, you know, the whole thing is a beat up. The thing about the name of the telescope as well is that people have to understand that the name Lucifer, and I should stress that the telescope is not actually called Lucifer. There was an abbreviation of Lucy, L-U-C-I, and so on that people have sort of really jumped on. Mm-hmm. But in any case, that the name Lucifer actually means light bearing. Now, when we measure light, we measure it in lux, which is where the word Lucy or Lucifer comes from. And telescopes, of course, are all about measuring light. We sometimes call them light buckets. But no, the Vatican are not looking for Nibiru Planet X, and they wouldn't have any exclusive ability to do so in any case. Even amateur astronomers can use infrared telescopes. Astronomy Live, my good friend Astronomy Live on YouTube, has a dedicated infrared camera that he can use on his telescope. I use a type of infrared camera. It's a modified DSLR camera, Canon 60DA. The A stands for astrophotography, and it means that it does not have the infrared cut filter installed on it, so we can see into those hydrogen alpha wavelengths. So,
and of course, a lot of people that are taking these images that do appear on the internet, it's just your bog standard mobile phone camera, nothing compared to the equipment that you're using, Dave. So some of the anomalies and effects that must occur in that are unbelievable compared to the professional kit you get.
Oh, yes. And I mean, that's the hilarious thing about it too, is that these Nibiru Planet X believers, well, you know, when I say to them, well, why can't I see Nibiru in my telescope? And they'll say, oh, well, it can only be seen in infrared, so unless you're using a proper infrared camera, you won't see it. And then in the next breath, they'll say, here, take a look at these images that were shot on a webcam or a mobile phone camera showing Nibiru next to the sun. You know, you can't have it both ways.
Now, Dave, what kind of websites and software can amateurs like ourselves use to look at the position of the stars and clear up some of these arguments that appear on the net from time to time?
Right. Well, there's a free astronomy software called Stellarium, which is very easy to use, so I could recommend that one as a starter. I use a program called Starry Night Pro. I recommend version 6 over the latest version 7. I find that the interface is much easier to use. It's not free software. I think it costs about $150 US, but it is excellent. And then there is also another very simple tool online called SolarSystemScope.com. That's all one word, which will give you a Stellarium type tool within your browser. You don't need to download it.
Now then, I have to ask, Google Sky, from time to time we get anomalies showing up on there. bits are blacked out, bits don't appear right, and people again lose their minds. What can you tell us about Google Sky and some of the anomalies or known anomalies on these softwares out there?
Yeah, well, it's no different to Google Maps or Google Earth, of course, is that we know that there are anomalies, photographic anomalies within Google Maps. You can go into Street View and see all sorts of strange things which are just because of stitching errors or data errors and things like that. And these so-called anomalies in Google Sky, we've looked at those. I recommend that people, if they want to check out my videos, check out my playlists, because I do tend to group videos in specific subjects, and you'll see videos on the blacked out area in Google Sky and things like that. And again, my friend Astronomy Live has done some excellent videos looking at that, where he has actually pointed his telescope at those coordinates that are supposedly blacked out, and he's used his infrared camera to have a look, see what's there. But the important thing to remember is that the imagery in Google Sky and similar online programs, the imagery was actually taken many years ago as part of a sky survey. So they're not even current, not even recent images. So you cannot use Google Sky like you would use a telescope. It just doesn't work that way. And as we saw with Nibiru Planet X 2016's most recent video proof of Nibiru, it turned out that the imagery that he was seeing was actually Saturn from 2011.
Unbelievable.
Johnny?
Yeah, Dave, is there anywhere that shows an all-night live telescope? I mean, I know there's SLU, I think that's the name, but is there any out there that you could just sit and watch a part of the sky that somebody's got a telescope pointed at?
Well, certainly SLU, I think you have to pay for membership even just to view. I know they've changed the way that they set up their subscriptions a little while back, so that's changed from when I had last used it. But we have to make the distinction too as to whether you're actually looking at a very tiny point in the sky through a telescope, when we're usually talking about less than half a degree field of view, or whether we're talking about a larger area of sky. And if you want to look at a larger area of sky with very nice clear imagery, I think it's telescope.net, if I remember correctly, is in Australia. Hopefully I've got that detail right, but they have some very good clear all sky cams as well, not like the all sky cam ones that Steve Olsen and others were using, which are extremely low resolution. We're talking about imagery of something like 640 by 640 resolution, which is just really low. These ones are much clearer, sharper. You can actually see the Milky Way in these images, so they're a lot clearer. So there's that.
Now, like I was saying before the break, to everyone out there, despite everything we're going into tonight, I'll be honest, I do believe, or I suspect, that there is some kind of exoplanet, whatever name you want to put on it, be it Niburu, Planet X, call it whatever. I do think there's something out there, but it's not on its way in. And at the start of the year, Dave, we had Caltech, Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin. They came out with their proposals for a Planet 9. Now, I dare say your work really got a lot harder when you had this recognised scientific body coming out and saying, look, there is an object out there. But is it this rogue planet, or is it just another one of these trans-Neptunian objects that are in weird orbits?
Well, absolutely. So that research is out there. Planet 9 is still very much hypothetical, although when I did a follow-up Google search this morning, I see that there are possibly some recent developments on their research, which I've yet to read up on. But the two researchers, Brown and Batygin, have made it very clear that based on their calculations, if this object exists, and certainly it may well exist, but its orbit would come no closer than 200 AU from our sun. So when we talk about AU, we're talking about astronomical units. That's the average distance between the sun and the earth, which is 93 million miles, or approximately 150 million kilometers. So at 200 AU, we're talking about way past Neptune and Pluto. We're talking about 30 billion kilometers out. And no one, not even Brown and Batygin, have ever seen or imaged this hypothetical planet. And also the orbital period that they have estimated they say would be somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 years. Now, when we know that there's an object out there because we've detected it, we've imaged it, we can fairly quickly calculate its trajectory based on those observations and calculate its orbital period. So to say that something has an orbital period of somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 years is a good clue that it's still very much hypothetical.
Ah, brilliant answer. Thanks a lot for that, Dave. That brings a whole new way of looking at that, because I'll admit it, I don't mind. I really lost my head over that. Again, Niburu bias, it's all tying into that. Great question from the chat room, and you've brought with you a really great audience, some really great information flying about in the TFR chat tonight. But D Boss says, is there anything you've looked into, Dave, that's left you scratching your head? You can't debunk it. There is something to that. Have you ever had anything like that at all?
Well, I'm just trying to think very hard, and nothing actually springs to mind.
You see, folks, there you go, logical explanations for everything so far, Dave.
Yeah, I remember being asked this question once before, and I remember several years ago I was seeing off a friend at night and looked up into the sky, and I saw these amazing lights. It looked like car headlights, cars driving around inside the clouds, and at the time I couldn't explain it. I'd not seen anything like it. But I made inquiries the next day, and I discovered that there had been a function on at the local air museum, and they were using the old searchlights, and from their position, shining the lights up on the clouds, I was actually on the other side of those clouds from my observing position, and basically what I was told matches what I saw, so I'm satisfied that that was a true answer.
You see, context everything, Johnny, because just like lens flares there, looking at one image with a flare just sitting there proves nothing, but when you put it into context, the moving image, when you see everything and have all the information, well, logical answer.
Yeah, exactly, Kevin. That story that you were telling there, Dave, that actually happened here in Glasgow not that long ago. That people were going crazy. Facebook was lit up with aliens in Glasgow, do you know what I mean? The lights in the sky. And it was actually a Rod Stewart concert that was on that night. Yeah. I can see how people go crazy for these things.
Now, Dave, before we let you go, where can people find you on YouTube? Give them Astronomy Live a quick shout out, because I know you love working with them on the Hangouts, and where people can find your work and stuff, man.
Right, so my channel on YouTube is Dazzathecameraman. It's all one word. I've also got a Facebook page, Dazzathecameraman. I also have a larger discussion page on Facebook called Voices of Reason to Explain X, VORTEX. We encourage people to come in there and post any items that they're not sure about, that they need explanation. And we've got a good team of people on there who have all sorts of various skills, and we're always happy to look at things and see if we can find a proper explanation. And we will provide the evidence, the proof to back up our explanation. We won't just give an opinion.
And for all the listeners out there, don't worry, myself and Johnny, we're going to lose our minds again over some viral video that comes out, be it next month, a couple of months after that. But at least now we've got Dave to call on, who can come here as the voice of reason and explain to us just exactly what it is we are seeing. And of course, if there is anything out there, I'm sure Dave and these amateur astronomers will all be the first ones to tell us. Just think about things when you watch them on YouTube, folks. And I say this from experience myself. I don't mind admitting that I used to be there, used to lose my crap over this stuff. But just a bit of critical thinking. Use your discernment. Spend 10 minutes. Go and search some of the websites that Dave has actually given us tonight. Actually, go to Dave's channel, because like I said at the top of the show, 9 times out of 10, this guy will have covered it. There's no attacking any of the people involved. We dealt with the information. And that is why tonight, from my point of view anyway, has left everyone a whole lot more Nibiru-proofed. Protection from that Planet X deception.
This is the Kev Baker Show.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a very special live broadcast right here on the Kev Baker Show with me, one of our hosts tonight, Kev Baker, and of course, I'm joined by my good friend and my wingman co-host, Mr. Johnny Whistles. Now, we're coming to you live from Glasgow, Scotland on the Truth Frequency Radio Network, and tonight we are going to be going all the way round and down the planet to New Zealand. What a show we have got lined up tonight, because if, like myself, during your whole waking up process, I know it's happened to you at some stage, you've all fallen into that Planet X Niburu wormhole. And wow, what a rabbit hole, wormhole, portal that is. You can lose yourself for weeks just looking at the plethora of images and videos that come out every day. How on earth can we make sense of what is going on? Is there some kind of rogue planet making its way back into the solar system, as some people would have us believe? What do you think? What have you looked at? Well, tonight we're going to clear up some of the ambiguity, the misinfo, and the disinfo that exists out there. But before we start getting into all of that, Johnny Whistles, tonight's guest, one of your favourites over on YouTube, and I know you're looking forward to this one. You've been telling me about this guy literally since maybe a couple of weeks after I met you, John, all those years ago.
Yeah, exactly, Kev, because some of the things that this man has showed people what to do with the cameras and what to do when they see two suns, you know what I mean, in picture. It's absolutely fantastic to actually have him here tonight, because this has been long overdue, Kev.
And Johnny, this is one of the topics that off air you'll sometimes share videos with me, I'll share stuff with you, and we have a real interest in this whole Planet X. Is there something out there? Is there something on its way back in? And that's why tonight it's going to be great, because I know so many people out there are asking these same questions, and with so much information coming to us on the internet via social media right now, what a perfect time to bring on somebody from YouTube who goes by the tag of Dazza the cameraman. His name is Dave Gregg. He comes to us all the way from New Zealand, and he, for me, and for some people out there, I like to call this the inconvenient truth about Niburu. Now, I call it inconvenient because there's so many people out there, for whatever reason, they're addicted to fear porn. They lose all discernment. Critical thinking goes out the window. However, you watch one of these videos that tries to convince you something is imminent, just head over to Dazza the cameraman, because 9 times out of 10, he'll provide you with an absolutely brilliant explanation of what you're actually seeing. So without any further ado, by the joys of Skype and the internet, let's go all the way to New Zealand. Dave, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Kev, and thank you for having me on the show.
Now, the pleasure is definitely all ours tonight, and for anyone out there, not right this second, but after the show, go and search for Dazza the cameraman on YouTube. I think you've got something like 5,000 subscribers, Dave, and I think that should be times by 10, because this topic that we're going into tonight is so popular with people out there. And before we even get into Niburu, I mean, how did you get into all of this stuff yourself?
Well, this goes back to early 2011, when in New Zealand there was the major earthquake in Christchurch, which killed approximately 200 people. And at that time, there was a New Zealand personality by the name of Ken Ring, who had already made a name for himself forecasting weather events based on the phases of the moon. And he decided to turn his hand to predicting earthquakes based on the phases of the moon. And he predicted that there was going to be a major earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand on the 20th of March 2011, which was the supermoon event for that year. This caused widespread panic for the people in Christchurch who had already been through many earthquakes, including the fatal earthquake on February 22nd, 2011. And so I looked into his claims about the phases of the moon causing earthquakes. I thought on the surface of it, it sounded like a fairly reasonable sort of claim. We know that the moon causes tides every day. So what I did was I checked back on the history of major earthquakes in New Zealand going back to about 1850, and then I checked those dates against the phases of the moon and found that there was no correlation. I sent this information via email to GeoNet, which is New Zealand's equivalent to USGS, and they replied promptly and said, "Thank you, this is great. Would you post this on our Facebook page?" I wasn't on Facebook at that stage, and I wasn't using my YouTube channel. So I joined Facebook because I thought it was important for people to know, and posted it there. And as they say, the rest is history. That is where my debunking started.
And this is why I'm really happy to have you on tonight, because that event with the Christchurch earthquake, I can imagine a lot of fear was going around at that time. And there's a whole heap of activity, furore around the Niburu subject on the internet right now. And I'm seeing from some of the comments, Dave, that some people are actually getting scared that Nibiru, Planet X, has actually entered our solar system. And this is in no small part to YouTubers out there who, in my opinion, definitely know that what they're putting forward isn't true. People like yourself is providing alternative answers to the information and research they say they're presenting, yet they choose to ignore that and continue to push this fact that Nibiru is here. Now, you find yourself at the centre of one of these kind of viral storms right now. Talk to us about Nibiru Planet X 2016. Is it here?
Okay, so one of my followers on, I think it was my Dazzathecameraman Facebook page, posted the video and asked me to take a look at it. So I went over to Nibiru Planet X 2016 channel, checked out the video supposedly showing Nibiru, and now he had shown what he actually described as Planet Enoch. He did say that it wasn't Nibiru, but what he called Planet Enoch, which I'd never heard of before, as seen from the stereo behind images